That's right, for the third time here on my second channel, I'm talking about Scream. This time I want to talk about the entire franchise. I just saw Scream 7, and I have a very hot take. Every single Scream movie is really good. That's my take, and I'm going to defend it. I'm going to do a tier list among the many qualities of Scream, as it's maybe the most tier listable film franchise, probably outside of Star Wars. And what I want to do is, a lot of people came out of 7 and saying it's bad. And I want to say this. Every time I see a new Scream movie, that's the worst Scream movie I've ever seen, including this number 7. Oh, it's the worst Scream movie by far. But they're all good, and I'm going to explain why. I think they are sort of somehow impervious to badness. Unlike my current health, if I sound a little nasally, I apologize. I'm getting over some kind of bronchitis, some kind of respiratory nightmare here. And what I think is that every single Scream movie is good, and every single Scream movie will get the same criticism in the immediate aftermath of its release from now until the heat death of the universe. Now, what I want to do is I want to tell my story. If you've never heard my Scream 1 story, buckle in. It's one of my favorite stories to tell. If you've already heard it, because I've told it before, I'll include a link in the description at what point to jump ahead to, okay? But this is my introduction to Scream. It was Halloween 1996. I was 18 years old, 17 years old, 18 years old. And I had been going to the Harvard Film Archive and seeing Werner Herzog's movies. They were playing at Harvard Square in this little cinema they have there, and I was a very serious cinephile, okay? I was very serious about movies. I took them very, very seriously. I studied them. I read books about them. This was back before Werner Herzog was kind of this cute, idiosyncratic guy who said wacky stuff. He wasn't memed. He wasn't Grizzly Man. He wasn't, the chickens are so incredibly stupid. He was just like a really real deal serious filmmaker, and I was loving it because a lot of his movies weren't even available on VHS at the time. This was pre-DVD. So my friend Brad and I, we're going and we're seeing as many Werner Herzog movies as we possibly can. And we go on Halloween. And we're going to go see Nosferatu, a movie I'd never seen, his remake of the classic silent movie, starring Klaus Kinski, of course. And so I go, and we're looking around, and we're sort of like, there's a lot of people here for Nosferatu. I mean, I guess it's Halloween. Makes sense. I guess people are excited about it. And I see this weird sort of word. It says Scream. What does that mean? And I get up to the box office. I'm like, 2 tickets for Nosferatu, please. And they said, I'm sorry, sir. We're actually showing the new Wes Craven movie. I was like, Wes Craven, that jokester, that People Under the Stairs guy. Meh. And this is before I realized he was a great filmmaker. Probably the equal of Herzog if we're thinking about it realistically. But so I snob out. My friend Brad and I, we snob out. We just say, forget this, we're leaving, we're going to go. We're just going to go back home, and I don't know, maybe we'll try to rent, maybe we'll try to find some place that has this movie to rent. But before we go, there's these 2 publicists who see us, and they go, listen, we promise, if you don't like this movie, come see us at the end, and we'll give you your money back. And they were, let's be honest, kind of cute. So my friend Brad and I were not exactly a hit with the ladies. You'd think we would be with our love of German New Wave cinema. But that was the case. And so what we did was we decided, fine, we'll just go. So we go in and we see Scream, understanding we'd never seen a trailer. We had never heard a single thing about it. We had never seen The Mask. We had never heard a single thing about it. And we walk in. I need to pause 1 second. I need to pause this 1 second. How do I pause this? And we sit down, maybe in the first or second row because we were late, and we're folding our arms and we're just not interested. And the movie starts. We are completely against this movie as it starts. The phone rings. We see Drew Barrymore. We're like, okay, that's kind of cool. That's kind of interesting. But I didn't think Drew Barrymore was going to be in this movie. And the whole opening scene plays out. And to tell you I have never been more excited in a movie theater is exactly accurate. That mask was so scary that to this day, Brad has made me promise I would never try to scare him with that mask, because the first time you see it, if the first time you see that mask is in the context of that movie and that first scene with that poor woman making Jeffy pop, it was the most exciting, the most fun I've ever had in a movie theater, and I'm including watching Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith in the presence of Mark Hamill and Dave Winfield. Don't ask. So it was unbelievable. And the whole movie had us going. It's hard to remember that at this time, meta cinema was not as common. You had Clerks, and that was basically about it. So movies about movies, this was kind of new. I was a super Gen Xer. The whole movie felt like it was made for me. Someone who grew up with Nightmare on Elm Street, someone who grew up with Freddy and Jason and all that. Like, it completely blew my mind. I have never been more shocked or amazed at anything I've ever seen. It was the single of the hundreds of cinema experiences I've had. It was the single greatest experience I've ever had, and I don't think it's possible to have a better one. So that's my entry into Scream. Okay? Welcome back if you didn't want to hear my story again. Now, what makes this such a great franchise, and why is every movie good? I think it's good because every single Scream movie is essentially 3 movies. So I made a little graphic for you, just so you can understand. Every single Scream movie is a murder mystery, a horror movie, and meta cinema. And I'll explain each of those 3 things. And I think what happens is this. People want different things from Scream at different times. And part of the problem is that the first movie was so good. The first movie was so good that it was a perfect mystery, a perfect horror movie, and perfect meta cinema. It was firing on all 3 cylinders. It was a complete 100% success on all 3 levels. And every movie since then has maybe been a better mystery than a horror, or a better meta than a horror, or better, right? None of them have quite hit that 10 out of 10, that 30 out of 30 as that first one did. But within each of these, there's different things that can go right or go wrong. And so what I think happens is people go and they see a Scream movie, and what they're expecting is so much. It's so much more than what you go and even when you expect to see, I don't know, a Dune movie or a James Bond movie, there's like these 3 things that have to constantly exist and play together. And within each of these 3 things, there are little tiny subcategories. Like within the murder mystery, you have to have great motive and a great reveal. Now, this is the thing where I think why Scream movies are basically always going to be boned. Because at this point, there's been 7 of them, 8 if you count the TV series, which I do, because the TV series was quite good, thank you very much. It was fine. It was a fun watch. But like, the murder mystery, the motive has to keep getting more and more bizarre, or it has to be simpler and simpler. It can't really find a sweet spot anymore. And the reveals, because the motives always have to be there, like it sort of is impossible, and we've seen this with 5, 6, and 7 now, that basically all of the best motives and all of the best styles of reveal have been done. So what that means is the first watch of every Scream movie from now until the heat death of the universe is going to be kind of disappointing. It always is going to fall apart. It structurally cannot hold together, which is why they require a second viewing. The best viewings of Scream are after you have removed the murder mystery, once you can observe the mechanisms of the murder mystery without having that fun. Because that's the thing. Like, Scream gives you all of the jollies of trying to figure out who done it, Murder on the Orient Express, okay? All the fun of that, mixed in with all the sadomasochistic fun of a horror movie. Like, at a certain point, once you know the mystery, there's 2 different kinds of movies. There's fun 1 time and there's fun 10 times, right? They're all fun 10 times, but that first time is especially fun. And it's really hard to achieve a good mystery anymore. And then there's the horror movie aspect of it. When they are done well, which is to say when they are done, especially by Wes Craven, you have the quality of kills. You have the quality of the set pieces. I mean, we can't... Even every single breakdown, I've watched a ton. By the way, as far as my bona fides go, I listen to the Ryan Showers podcast. I watch the Zach Cherry YouTube channels, okay? Like, I am like a Scream nerd. It doesn't really seem it because I'm a nerd in so many other ways, but I am, okay? Even the most hateful takedowns of this movie, of 7, all say, oh, but the opening's amazing. The opening's amazing. Every single opening has been amazing. I mean, really, every single opening has given you that terrible, horrible feeling of dread. Like there's a kind of like visceral disgust and pain and aching that those movies give you. When the parents discover, spoilers for everything, by the way. When the parents discover Drew Barrymore in the beginning of one. It's so terrible. It's terrible. You feel bad. It's not just like, oh, cool kill. It's like, oh my God, that's her daughter. And in two, the most harrowing, that's the word I want to use, the harrowing scene with Jada Pinkett and she's screaming and everyone thinks it's all part of the gag. It just feels terrible. And then three with Liev Schreiber and you feel the pain of it and finally getting out of it. And then, okay, maybe not four. Maybe four you don't feel the horribleness because it was going so far into the meta thing. But you understand what I'm saying. And five wasn't a particularly good opening either because, no one actually died, right? But six was wonderfully terrible with this just totally innocent adjunct. I'm sorry. If you've been paying attention to my channel, you know she's not adjunct. You know she's an associate professor. And then this one had a delightfully terrible opening with this totally great couple and the animatronic character. It's so exciting. It's part of the horror movie thing is the setups. But Scream deserves more credit than it gets. Because it's like, okay, I love the Halloween movie series too, okay? How many, great set pieces are there? How many great Halloween set pieces are there? How many great Friday the 13th set pieces are there? I mean, yeah, you're whatever. You're nostalgic, so you remember the first time you saw the scene in the barn or whatever it was, and was it 3? I kind of get it. But the quality of set pieces, even in this, the worst Scream movie, is absolutely astonishing. And then on top of that, you have this constantly changing killer, which means it's always going to be interesting because it's not one person, it's an idea, it's a concept. It is the concept of being the killer. Just one little word here. How cool is it that he's called Ghostface because of Ghostface Killer from Wu-Tang Clan, right? Because he should be called Scream. The name of the guy, the mask should be Scream or Scream Man or Screamer. That's what we would have called it, but because Ghostface Killer existed in rap music at that same time. Okay, so that's the murder mystery, that's the horror, and then there's the meta quality of it. And the meta quality, I think, is where it delves into its most artistic mode. Because it is an artistic series. It is not just popcorn fodder. It is great popcorn fodder. But again, you have to understand the context of the 1990s. When those characters started talking about Return of the Jedi in Clerks, that was like the world ended. The idea, you can talk about movies in movies? We're so used to it now that we're postmodern. We're basically pre-modern. We've gone so damn postmodern. But this moment, and what's great is that being this meta is actually kind of 90s now. So it's kind of a throwback to a different style while also allowing you to constantly be in the mode of analyzing the thing that you're watching. They are constantly, all Scream movies, by their creation, are constantly doing two jobs at once. They are being a thing and they are commenting on it at the same time. And I'm an intellectual, a real deal college professor with a PhD in 17th century French literature, okay? And I can tell you that's what high art does. That is a thing that is done in some high art. Commenting on a thing while being the thing. And that's what makes every single Scream movie completely dated. They have to be dated. Scream 4 has to feel like it came out in 2010, just like Scream 3 has to feel like it came out in 1999. It has to feel that way. You have to see the weird striped sweaters of Scream 1. And the Scream that came out, Scream 7, now with the dated AI stuff has to be, because it's simultaneously completely dated, but then it's timeless, because the timeless conceit is that horror movies are dated and they tell you about the zeitgeist of the time and what people are scared about. So the more dated it is, the more timeless it is, because the framing device of the entire saga, of the entire film franchise, is insightfulness about the zeitgeist. It is the datedness that is the part of the timelessness. It cannot be beaten. On top of this insightfulness, you have these rules, which makes it fun, and then you have its own lore with the stab movies, which are the movies within the movies. Listen, I love 8.5 by Federico Fellini, okay? I love, The Player by Robert Altman. I love Hollywood movies where they are up their own ass about how great it is to make movies and how important movies are. But this is a whole nother level. Because it's not just a movie is about a movie. It's about a movie series within a movie series about the movie series that you're watching, while also being about other movie series at the same time. And it literally means that they cannot be bad. They cannot be bad because the Stab series started off good and then got bad and maybe got good again. It legitimately means that however bad Scream gets, it can always be seen as a commentary on the nature in which horror franchises get bad over time. It's undefeatable. The same way it's dated and timeless at the same time, every bad thing in a Scream movie is a good commentary on a bad thing in horror movies. And just behind the whole thing, we have these creators. We have these creators. Wes Craven, the greatest name in horror. Kevin Williamson, like one of the greatest meta commentators, the person who helps to add the layer of queerness to this, which is a whole other aspect that I think is wonderful, and I'm not really going to touch on because that's not my life experience, but I can certainly relate to it. And then on top of that, they added some new guys, and the new guys they added were the Radio Silence crew, who are really smart horror filmmakers as well. This is not just some goofy-ass committee that they throw together. This isn't like the Mustafa Akkad family just doing whatever they can to keep Halloween going. Like, this has been 30 years of like really consistent, well-made filmmaking. So I think that's why they all are going to be bad at first, because the mystery is always going to be tough the first time you watch it, because it will never be as good as the first 4, 5, okay? The horror aspect will always keep refreshing, and then the meta-ness is what means that every entry, no matter how bad it is an interesting entry into the larger context of this series. So, let's get into it, okay? Let's get into the movies. I'm going to do the tier list. I just went on tierlist.com or whatever it is, tier list maker. I just found one that's there. Please don't pay attention to any of the ads that are down there. Do you see me in there too? Am I there too? I hope I'm there. Hi, I'm Professor Sky. So there's my list, okay? S tier is for Stabby Stabby, like Forval. A tier is B tier is Billy's Creepy Smile. C tier, I'm just calling the TV show. I don't have an icon for it, but I liked it. And then I don't think Scream can get worse than C tier. I just don't think it can. Okay, so let's go through all the movies. Obviously, A tier is Scream 1. I would argue that Scream 1 might be the best movie of the 1990s. Like, it's at least up there. If there are 5 great movies of the 90s, it's one of them. It's such an amazing time capsule of the way that we were thinking, of the way that art was changing. It's so well made. It's so tight. Every single thing that makes Scream great, everything that will make the next 6 movies any good at all, is always going to be an echo of that first one. The protagonists are perfect. The antagonists are perfect. The meta-commentary is perfect. The horror is perfect. Hell, even the introduction of Red Right Hand by Nicolas Cage. By the way, when I saw that, I was telling this to my daughter, when I saw that, I thought, oh my God, they're finally using Red Right Hand in a horror movie. Because I loved Nick Cave at the time. Okay? So that's what I'm putting in S tier for Stabby Stabby. And I gotta be honest, I'm not putting anything else there. I am going to put Scream 2. For a long time, Scream 2 was my favorite Scream movie, but it was only because of the beginning. The beginning was so good and so scary and so oh my God. It was like near perfection. It really was. And then at the end, the denouement, the murder mystery was kind of unsatisfying, and it was kind of over the top. And that's where you realize the bigger brain thinking that Williamson and Craven are on, which is you have to take it to like secret parentage and to secret bloodlines and connections, because that's part of the horror movie genre. That's part of the slasher movie genre. If you don't go, what, at a certain point, then you're not doing a horror movie correctly. You have to do that. You're just making art cinema. You are making elevated horror. And Scream is beyond elevated horror, right? And then we get to 3, a movie that I hated for most of my life, but I'm going to put this in A tier as well. I put it behind 2, but this is an amazing example of how Scream is timeless and dated. Because the movie itself had to respond to Columbine and had to change the plot of the movie and had to change the writer of the movie. The weaknesses of the movie sprung forth from the material and cultural conditions from whence it was made and that it helped to create. Because the kind of callous teenage murdering culture that is in the first two Scream movies is the kind of callous teenage murdering thing that was blamed on the Columbine massacre, right? It was all there. And it's maybe the most concise movie about filmmaking, actually being about filmmaking. It's weird. I recently just watched the director commentary with Wes Craven. It's all those things are on YouTube, and it's really like creepy because he keeps on talking about the Weinsteins and how they were helping out with the movie, and it's like the movies are basically about the Weinsteins and what they did with Lance Henriksen's character. By the way, Lance Henriksen, is he the best B actor of all time? You tell me in the comments. So, you know, it has so much great to it, and it's the perfect example for people who say it's too unrealistic, it's too out there. I think you're missing the point. I think that's what it is. I think that's the point. Now, you might be saying, Sky, that's a cop-out. Maybe, but I don't know. All right, let's go back to my tier list here. Now, for 4, I gotta say, I can't believe I'm saying this. I think 4 is the second best Scream movie. I think it's the second best Scream movie because it's the end of the Wes Craven era. And Wes Craven is super important, right? I mean, Wes Craven is the backbone of this whole thing. And rewatching it, the way they invert Sidney into Jill, and the way that they invert like the Jamie Kennedy character with the Culkin kid. Like the inversion of one is done so delicately. It's such a great like 15 years or 11 years later remake, update kind of thing. The mystery is, again, right? Like the mystery is really good. The Ghostface is probably the best Ghostface. I think Jill is probably the best Ghostface because she's the inversion of Sidney. The horror is really on point, especially with the cameras that are filming at the same time as you're watching. You don't know what's happening. And then the meta cinema is like, that's where it really reached that next level because you have that amazing scene with Hayden Panettiere all up on this airplane. Hayden Panettiere, where she's talking about all the remakes and they're commenting on the remake and they're commenting on the redoing. I'm shocked. I'm shocked to say that's my second favorite Scream movie. I really am. And none of these are bad movies. They're all great. All right, let's go back to my tier list here. Now we're going to get to the modern remakes, the Radio Silence movies, the post-Wes Craven movies. I think I'm going to put 5 in A tier. I think I am. I think 5, I rewatched this again recently as well. I think the Carpenter sisters are great. I think they're an interesting addition. I think so like 5 is interesting because it's sort of like, it's like restarting. 4 was restarting 1 again. And then 5 is restarting 1 again. So it's a weird sort of requel. But the way everything is laid out, the stories, it's very much, and people have said it, I'm not the first one to say, it is the Force Awakens of Scream in the way that it's just trying to recapture those feelings, but it does it really well. The new characters are good, they're engaging. I don't like the opening scene. I sort of wish there was only one killer, but there you go. So there's my take on 5. As far as 6 goes, I rewatched this again this week. And I was shocked how much I liked it. I'm still going to put it down into B tier because, okay, why? Why am I saying this is one of the worst? Well, the mystery, okay. Let me tell you the thing I like. Radio Silence is on some next level stuff, right? Because 5 was a recreation of 1. And that makes 6 a recreation of 2. It's like poetry. It rhymes. Remember that from episode 1, 2, and 3 from George Lucas, talking about episodes 4, 5, and 6? But it really does work because the worst part of 6 is this mystery, is these 3 killers who are all related to the killer from the last one, which is exactly what they did in 2. But the thing was, in 2, that was one of the weakest parts of the movie. You were sort of like, that's kind of an annoying ending here. I don't really want to have That was like the first time where it felt like maybe Scream was going off into the stranger. There's a moment in the Halloween franchise where they start talking about like the thorn and the marks and the family and the bloodline, and everything just gets like way too out there. Like it could have just been some dude who killed some people. Instead, it became this whole other thing. Like with that, it sort of felt that way. But that's why there's no bad Scream movies, because that's not bad. It's bad in a way that's good because that's the way that the other one was bad. And that's what this whole thing is doing. It's commenting on this. It's like poetry, it rhymes-ness of this new series. Plus, the setting in New York is great. I'm old enough to remember when Jason Takes Manhattan came out. And I was so disappointed because I thought it was going to be Jason just killing people in New York. But it wasn't. It was Jason killing some people on a boat. Which is not what I signed up for. So yeah, I'm going to put that in B tier. And then this probably shouldn't be a surprise. I've been telling you the whole time. This most recent Scream movie, Scream 7, is the worst Scream movie. But that's still a good movie. I still look forward to watching it. When Scream 8 comes out, I look forward to rewatching 7 and realizing how good it is. Because as far as a horror movie goes, it's very solid. As far as a meta movie goes, the stuff on AI is interesting, and especially the stuff with like the surveillance footage, that's really interesting. The mother-daughter stuff is really interesting. And then, first of all, there is a genocide happening in Gaza. That's just, you can say that without hating any people. That's just happening, right? There is the stuff that's happening around the movie. So because the two actresses from 6 and 5 were speaking their conscience and got fired, a sort of reverse Gina Carano thing from the Star Wars franchise, it put everybody who believes that what's happening in Gaza is a genocide, which it is, in a really bad state. Because it's like, if I'm supporting this film franchise that I love, then I'm also supporting the film franchise that fired people for plainly and not anti-Semitically stating something that's just happening and saying that, gee, they wish it wasn't happening anymore. But going beyond the moral aspect of that, there is the meta aspect, which makes it maybe the most interesting meta commentary that there has been, because the third Scream had to be changed and the director had to be fired because of Columbine, because America was falling apart because of its gun culture and its toxic masculinity and inability to understand mental health crises and all those things. And that came out in the Scream movies and having to change what Scream 3 was about. Now, 25 years later, however long it's been, 26 years later, we have a Scream movie that's the third in a sequel that has to get a new director when it really shouldn't. The first 3 Scream movies should have just been Craven Williamson, Craven Williamson, Craven Williamson. Not Craven Williamson, Craven Williamson, Craven, forget the other guy, okay? But like, it's perfect because real life got in the way. America's confusing and contradictory stance on genocide and on what's happening in Israel has invaded everything in our life. Columbine completely changed everything. It completely changed everything. Like, I went to high school before Columbine. I could just go. I could just leave and come back. That was it. I'd go out for lunch, I'd leave, I'd come back and hang with my friends. I would just be just a dumbass punk doing whatever. Then by the time my kids were in high school, they couldn't leave without checking in with someone on the front and the door and the gate and the lock and the guard and the metal detector. All that stuff that's happening all over the place. And like, October 9th completely destroyed the world in a different way. It tore friends apart, it tore people apart, it exacerbated these rifts that are happening in our life. And so the fact that Scream 7 is so much weaker because it's not finishing this story that it should be finishing is part of the art, intentionally or no. If we're taking the Scream series as a commentary on cinema and American culture and the impact that cinema has on the people, especially the young people who watch it, nothing could be more meaningful and representative than the 2 stars being fired over political differences in a country that's a few thousand miles away. So Of course, it would have been better if they'd finished the 5, 6, and 7. But then it wouldn't have been Scream. It wouldn't have actually matched 1, 2, and 3. So we have these two imperfect trilogies with amazing beginnings, controversial kind of side, enlarging second trilogy, second segments, and then completely derailed, wait, what the hell, what are we going to do now movies. And then right in the middle, you have that little perfect 4, that little perfect nugget. 4 is like if 1 was the standalone movie it should have been, right? Because Scream was going to be a standalone. I mean, I could have told you that night. I could have told you that night in '96, a few months before the movie would premiere, that it was not going to be the only Scream movie. But all of that is in those 7 movies. And the TV show is good. It's fun. There's lots of fun stuff to it. It's weird. It's unsettling. It's not the same mask. It's not the same themes. But it does deserve a mention. And if you're a Scream fan, you should watch it. So anyways, there's my theory as to it. Again, going back to 7, the mystery is not very good because the reveal is not very good because the motives aren't very good. The horror is super strong. The meta could be stronger. But like, did you see that opening scene? Did you see that opening scene? Did you see the animatronic guy just sitting there in the back, just staring there? Amazing. All right. Well, there's my little video. It's my fun little break here. I have a work meeting now. I'd like to talk about Scream more, but I have to go have a work meeting. All right. Until next time, there's the camera.